Now we move to Southeast Michigan, where the planning process for a long-awaited regional transportation system is moving into high gear. Officials from the Regional Transit Authority will start working on a master plan next week. They're going to be holding meetings in Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw counties. And the RTA wants to hear from residents on what they're looking for in a transit system linking the 4 counties. And I think this is really interesting because I don't think you can have a conversation about where our transit should be going when you haven't first had the conversation here with us of why we don't have mass transit here in Detroit, why we're one of...
Well, we do. They're called freeways.
Well, why we don't have...
Masses of people move on them every day.
So one of the great ironies in Detroit, and I wish I had stopped and gotten out and taken a picture, but the other day I was driving down Woodward where they are digging up the whole street, you know, to put in the light rail, which is our first new, you know, public transit system in what, 25 years in the city, and it's only going, you know, I think it's 3.5 miles up to. But right out in Midtown, where they're digging up in the middle of the street where they're going to go, that what they're finding are what? Rails underneath the pavement. The rails from the old streetcar are still there, so they're pulling up infrastructure that we once upon a time built and had and got people around really well in order to put a new one in. I think that says everything about the transit story here in Southeast Michigan. I mean, we just have never gotten to the point where we should be with this, and we're now sort of back to the future, going back to the beginning. Because we dismantled something.
Well, and I think it was more than just, you had a dysfunctional streetcar system, and I think it was more than just the fact that we were the home of the big 3 and everyone was in an automobile. You had urban sprawl, but you had also a lot of infighting in terms of there was no sort of regional cooperation at that time to make sure.
There hasn't been, and I'm not sure there is now. I mean, the truth is, this is the closest thing we're going to get to mass transit. We're not going to get rail. We're not going to widespread rail. We're not going to get subways. We're going to get these rapid buses, and they could work if the people,
from the RTA, we'll get that.
Yeah, yes. That's what we're going to get here, and we're going to build off that. And again, they could work to move a lot of people around if you get a good plan, and if it's approved, and the planning process is just starting. Now, they should be looking at what happened last week with Prop 1 and saying, what does that sort of foretell here for our efforts in 2016 to go out and get a tax hike? If they just simply go out there and say, we got this great bus plan, we want you to give us $2 million to support it, I think it's going to fail, because people in the suburbs, in Macomb, Oakland, and suburban Wayne County, already paying a full mill tax for bus service that they don't use and doesn't often work well. I think between now and 2016, they have to combine this RTA with SMART and ask people for one tax. I don't think, you saw the aversion to a tax increase when people are confused. I don't think people are going to raise the tax for this bus system unless they feel there's some efficiency and we're getting it right. And when it was proposed, it was sort of a patch over. And the enabling legislation gives them the ability to acquire SMART, and that's exactly what they should do.
So really, are the 2 big questions, Stephen, what do we need and how much is it going to cost?
I think so. I think that's where you start, for sure. And the RTA has been efforting, an answer to those questions pretty aggressively. I mean, they've got really great materials now that explain what it is they want to do. They've talked to hundreds, maybe thousands of people in the region about what they want and how they think it should work. They're gearing up to make, I think, a pretty strong case for what they want to do, and it's just going to be 3 sort of trunk lines, Gratiot, Woodward, and Michigan, and they'll put the buses out there. But I think you're right. You've got to do it so that it combines that with that SMART coverage and one way to pay for all of it.
And I think you also have to get people to understand what the RTA is. I mean, it was formed in 2012, and we're now only starting to see a lot of the wheels turning, and the fact that it wasn't fully funded so it could,
get going. Really. I mean, the funding that the legislature provided was not ever going to provide actual transit. It was just going to provide for the administrative cost of the RTA.
But it's already up and running in Grand Rapids. The legislation was approved the same time, and we are nowhere near
Why? Why? Why do they get it done in Grand Rapids? I know geographically they're a smaller space.
Well, they work together. They've got fewer union issues to work around. They've got fewer turf wars out there.
Less history of failure, less history of acrimony among the different players. I mean, we're not in the same category in those regards as Grand Rapids, and that's why they're on the buses now, and we're still talking about it.
So then how do we ever get over that? How does this region ever get over that? And we have so many of these conversations about regional cooperation, and we're really going to get it to work this time.
So I think you can't get over it so much as you just got to go around it. I mean, I think if the RTA can, wins, everybody wants to be part of wins. If you can put something together that actually works, one of the things they want to start doing before the vote or before they're funded is this shuttle between Metro Airport and downtown.
That's a good idea.
That would be huge.
But
and if you get that going and people see it and they think it works, then it's a little easier to talk about doing more.
But people are not going to get on buses unless you give them a darn good reason to get on buses. They're going to say, wow, it'll be fun to ride that bus to work today. But parking is getting very scarce downtown and very expensive.
Yep.
And particularly the north-south routes from downtown to Oakland County getting extraordinarily jammed. So, I mean, people will take the bus if it's made more convenient. And it doesn't take all day to go from place to place as it does now. So,
but if you put people on buses to the airport, right? If you could take a bus to the airport instead of hassling with the parking out there, which is really expensive, or taking a Metro car, which is expensive, again, I think that's a good place to start.
Ann Arbor runs 13 buses a day from Ann Arbor to the airport, and they're used, they're full, it's a reasonable cost, and it works.
And also, if you're talking about visitors and people coming in to visit the city, being able to get down there.
Yeah. This is the first time in our memory, at least, that there's been a critical mass of commuters downtown to make it work. There used to be a train from Ann Arbor to Detroit, and it wasn't pulled just arbitrarily because we don't like mass transit. It was pulled or stopped because the ridership didn't support it. I think today's a different day now.
All right. Well.